All right, let's jump right in.
Okay.
Today, we're diving into Brighton versus Arsenal.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of different stuff to go through, articles, predictions, even some tactical breakdowns.
Sounds good.
So, if you want to be that person, who can impress your friends, whether you're at the pub or just, wherever you watch the match,
Yep.
with your football knowledge,
Yeah.
you've come to the right place.
All right, let's do it.
Sounds good. So right off the bat, this is a really interesting matchup because you've got Brighton, who haven't won a game since November.
Well, since November.
And then you've got Arsenal, who are, right up there in the title race, trying to get their 5th win in a row.
Exactly.
But when you sort of dig a little deeper, it gets a lot more interesting.
Yeah, it does.
So what's the real story behind Brighton's struggles? Is it just, a rough patch, or is there something more going on?
Well, some of the articles, they're saying that Brighton are pretty vulnerable when defending counterattacks.
Okay. And, remember that game against Manchester City?
I do, yeah.
When they lost 4-1?
Yeah.
City just kept exploiting that high defensive line.
Yeah.
Brighton just couldn't cope.
Right. So even though they like to have possession,
right,
they can get caught out when they lose the ball. But wait a minute.
Yeah.
Brighton has a pretty impressive home record this season.
Yeah, they do.
3 wins and 5 draws in 9 games at the Amex.
The Amex, yeah.
So does that change things?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does.
Yeah.
Arsenal, they need to keep winning.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure.
Right.
And Amex hasn't really been a happy place for them lately.
Yeah. So Brighton being strong at home really adds another layer of complexity to this match.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me just kind of recap here.
Sure.
We have Brighton, who they like to keep the ball, but they can be caught out on the break.
Yep.
Playing at home.
Right.
Where they've been tough to beat.
It's true.
And then you've got Arsenal.
Title contenders who need to keep winning.
Absolutely.
Talk about a clash of styles and motivations.
Totally. And speaking of players, there's a couple that we should really keep an eye on.
All right, give me the inside scoop. Who should we be watching?
Okay, so for Brighton, João Pedro.
Okay.
He's a Brazilian forward, and he can play kind of all over the attack.
Yeah.
Winger, striker, attacking midfielder.
Oh, versatile.
He's been involved in a lot of Brighton's goals this season.
Okay.
4 goals, 5 assists.
Nice.
And 2 of those assists were in their last game.
So even though Brighton have been struggling, he's been a bright spark for them.
Totally.
Okay, what about Arsenal?
All right, so for Arsenal, I think the big question mark is Kai Havertz.
Okay.
Because he missed the last game.
Right.
He was ill,
yeah,
but he's expected to be back.
Yeah.
And when he is on form, he is one of their most dangerous players.
For sure. And especially now that Bukayo Saka is injured.
That's right.
Yeah, so even more important that he steps up.
Absolutely.
I was reading that Havertz really thrives under pressure.
Yeah, he does.
And he's already got 12 goals across all competitions this season.
That's right, and 2 of those were in the last 2 games that he played before he was ill.
Oh, wow, that's a good sign.
It is.
So if he's back to full fitness, he could be a real difference maker for us.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we've got our key players to watch.
Yeah.
Now, let's look at some of the more intriguing stats and facts.
Okay.
That we found in the research.
Right.
But really jumped out at you.
Well, this one surprised me.
Okay.
Brighton haven't won any of their last 4 Premier League home games against Arsenal.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, historically, this has been a good fixture for Arsenal.
But wait a minute.
Yeah.
Brighton have been really strong at home this season.
They have.
So does that record hold up against top teams like Arsenal?
That's a good question. It's definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
Just to add to that, Arsenal have won 3 of their last 5 games against Brighton.
Okay.
And this fixture usually has a lot of goals.
How many goals are we talking on average?
Almost 3 goals per game.
Wow. All right. You've got my attention.
Yeah.
But before we make any predictions, let's talk about the injuries.
Yes, the injuries.
Because they're a big factor in this game.
Absolutely a big factor.
So Brighton first, James Milner, Evan Ferguson, and Danny Welbeck are all out.
Right, all out.
And Purvis Estupiñán is doubtful.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, it's a lot of players.
Yeah, that's going to be tough for them.
Yeah, definitely. How do you think that's going to impact their game plan?
I think they're going to have to rely on their bench a lot more.
Okay.
And maybe even adjust their tactics, just to compensate for all those missing players.
Yeah, makes sense.
And Arsenal have a long injury list as well.
Okay, who are they missing?
Ben White, Takahiro Tomiyasu, Bukayo Saka, Raheem Sterling, all out.
Right.
Jurrien Timber is suspended.
And then, of course, Kai Havertz is still doubtful.
So even though Arsenal are the favorites, these injuries could level the playing field a little bit.
For sure. Missing key players like that.
Yeah.
It always makes a difference, especially in a game like this.
For sure.
Which is going to be, a real tactical battle.
Right. Okay, so we've noted the injuries. Now let's talk about tactics.
All right, let's do it.
What can you tell us about each team's style of play?
Okay, so Brighton, they're known for their possession-based football.
Okay.
They love those through balls.
Yeah.
Passes that split the defense and create those scoring opportunities.
Right.
They also like to take long shots, and they often attack through the middle.
They make sense, especially with players like João Pedro,
right,
who are really comfortable receiving the ball in those central positions.
Exactly.
But one of the things that I read is that they can be a little prone to individual errors.
Yes, that's right. And they sometimes struggle against teams that press them high and force turnovers.
You're exactly right.
And that's where I think Arsenal's approach could really come into play.
Yeah.
Because they are known for their attacking flair.
Totally.
Particularly down the wings.
Yeah, especially that right flank.
Which explains why Saka's absence is such a big blow.
Huge blow.
Yeah. They're also really good at finishing their chances.
They are very efficient.
And they like to control the game in the opposition's half with those short, crisp passes.
Always looking to win the ball back high up the pitch.
Exactly.
And launch into those counterattacks.
So just to sum up here.
Sure.
You've got Brighton, who like to control possession, attack through the middle.
Yep.
And then you've got Arsenal, who prefer a more direct counterattacking approach.
Right.
Particularly down those wings.
Especially down the wings.
Yeah. And that tactical clash could be the deciding factor in this game.
It really could. And remember what we said earlier about Brighton?
Yep.
Being vulnerable to counterattacks.
Yeah.
One of the articles actually specifically mentioned that Arsenal are going to be looking to exploit that.
Interesting.
With the pace they have up front.
Yeah.
Even without Saka.
Right.
I think they could cause Brighton a lot of problems.
Yeah, for sure.
Going forward.
All right. So now that we've talked about the tactical nuances, let's zoom in on one specific battle that you think could be crucial.
So the midfield battle, I think that's the one to watch.
Okay.
Brighton's Jorginho Rutter and Arsenal's Declan Rice.
Okay.
Rutter, he's an attacking midfielder, known for his creativity, his passing range.
Right.
Rice, he's a defensive midfielder.
Okay.
He's that anchor in front of the back four.
Right, I see. So it's a battle for control of the midfield.
Exactly.
Rutter trying to unlock the Arsenal defense with his passes.
Yep.
And Rice trying to break up those plays.
Right.
And dictate the tempo for Arsenal. And that battle could be even more crucial.
Oh, absolutely.
Because both teams are missing key players in midfield.
For sure.
Yeah. So it's a fascinating matchup.
It is. It really is.
It sounds like a real chess match within the larger game.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
And whoever wins that individual battle could have a major impact on the outcome.
100%.
Yeah. This is why we love football, isn't it?
This is it.
The tactical intricacies, the individual battles, the unpredictable nature of the game.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, well, we'll get into more detail on that key battle after a quick break.
Sounds good.
All right, see you in a minute.
All right. It's those little moments of brilliance or, errors that can really change the game.
Absolutely.
So speaking of turning points, let's look at the predictions.
All right, hit me with it. What are the experts saying?
Well, it's kind of a mix,
but
most of them seem to think Arsenal will win. For example, the Standard. They're predicting a 2-1 win for Arsenal.
They say it's because of Brighton's struggles. And Arsenal needing to win to, keep up in the title race.
Right, makes sense. So a slight edge to Arsenal?
Right.
But still a pretty close game.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. What else are people saying?
Well, one source. They're going for a more convincing 3-1 win for Arsenal.
Okay. More decisive.
Yeah, they're focusing on Arsenal's attack. Even with the injuries.
Right.
And they think Brighton are vulnerable to those counterattacks we were talking about.
But hasn't Brighton upset some big teams at home this season?
Yeah, they have.
So what makes these sources think that this time will be different?
That's a good point. I think it comes down to a couple of things. Brighton's injuries and how well Arsenal are playing right now.
So they think the injuries are going to make a big difference?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And Arsenal are on a roll.
Yeah, they are flying.
Their confidence must be sky high.
Yeah, definitely. Momentum is a huge factor in football. Absolutely huge.
Were there any predictions that were really different?
Well, one stood out to me.
Okay.
1-3 to Arsenal.
Wow.
They think that Brighton's missing players are going to be a really big problem against a strong Arsenal side.
So even though they're all predicting an Arsenal win,
right,
they're not really sure how convincing it'll be.
Yeah, there's definitely some uncertainty there.
Which makes it even more exciting.
Oh, absolutely.
So we've got Brighton,
who
can be really dangerous, especially at home.
The Amex.
And then we've got Arsenal, who are in great form.
Fantastic form.
And their goal is to win the league.
Exactly. It's all to play for.
Okay, let's bring in the cold, hard numbers.
Okay.
What are the betting odds telling us?
Well, the bookies generally have Arsenal as the favorites.
Okay.
But not by much.
Okay.
I saw some odds at 34 for an Arsenal win. And Brighton were around 72.
Okay.
And a draw was 29-10.
So it's really not clear-cut.
No.
At all. No. It's interesting that even though everyone seems to think Arsenal will win, the odds suggest it could be a much closer match.
I think that just shows how much potential Brighton have, even with the injuries.
Right.
I mean, they've been so hard to beat at home.
They have.
And they'll be desperate to end this winless streak.
Yeah, they're going to want to prove something.
Exactly. Plus, you always want to beat the team that's challenging for the title.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
They could really shake things up.
Absolutely.
This match has so many layers.
It does.
The tactics, the individual matchups, the psychology.
It's all there.
It's amazing.
It is.
Okay, let's go back to that key battle you were talking about.
Okay.
Rudder versus Rice in the midfield.
Yeah.
Let's dig a little deeper into that.
All right, let's do it.
What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses?
Okay.
How do their styles clash?
Okay, so Rudder, Brighton's attacking midfielder.
Yes.
He's like the conductor, orchestrating everything. He's got incredible vision. He can pick out passes that nobody else sees.
Yeah.
And his ability to control the tempo is really important to how Brighton play. But he's not the best defensively.
Okay.
You know, he can get caught out of position.
Right.
And his tackling isn't great.
So he's that creative spark?
Yes.
But he might leave some gaps at the back.
Exactly.
Okay, what about Rice?
Okay, so Rice, he's the shield, protecting the back four.
Got it.
He's so strong, reads the game really well, breaks up attacks with his tackling, and he can start those counterattacks with his passing.
So he's the enforcer, the destroyer, winning the ball back and setting the tempo for Arsenal.
Absolutely.
This head-to-head is going to be so interesting.
It really is.
Because if Rudder can find space, he can hurt Arsenal with his creativity.
Yeah, for sure.
But if Rice can shut him down, disrupt his rhythm, then it could swing the game in Arsenal's favor.
For sure.
It's a real battle for control of the midfield.
100%.
Rudder's creativity and vision against Rice's strength and defensive ability.
And they can both impact the game in so many ways.
Yeah, it's true.
It's not just about their individual battle.
Right.
Rudder can create chances for Brighton's forwards with his passing, and Rice can protect Arsenal's defense with his interceptions and tackles.
It's a matchup that could really define the game.
It really could.
This is what makes football so great.
Oh.
The tactical intricacies, the individual battles, the unpredictable nature of it all.
It's the best.
And in a game like this, where both teams have their strengths and weaknesses, those little details can make all the difference.
Absolutely.
It's those little moments of brilliance, where those mistakes that can really decide a game.
Absolutely.
All right, so before we wrap up, let's do a quick recap. What are the main things that you want our listeners to take away from this deep dive?
Okay, so first off, you've got two teams in very different situations.
Yeah.
Brighton trying to end that winless streak.
Yeah.
And they've got all those injuries to deal with.
Right. And that makes their home form even more important.
Yeah, totally.
They've been really tough to beat at the Amex.
Especially at the Amex.
Even against the top teams.
It's true.
And remember those key players we were talking about?
Yeah.
Juan Pedro.
Yeah.
Brighton's versatile attacker. He's been a real bright spark for them.
He has.
And then for Arsenal, Kai Havertz, he could be the difference maker.
If he's fit,
If he's recovered from that illness.
Absolutely.
And we can't forget that tactical battle.
Yeah.
Brighton's possession-based style.
Right.
Versus Arsenal's more direct counterattacking approach.
That's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially with those injuries.
Right. It throws another element into the mix.
It does.
So, speaking of tactical battles.
Yeah.
We can't forget about that midfield duel.
Oh, yeah. Rudder and Rice.
Rudder and Rice.
That could decide the whole game.
It really could.
Rudder trying to create, Rice trying to destroy.
It's a classic attack versus defense.
Exactly.
And even though the predictions are mostly favoring Arsenal, those betting odds are telling us that it might not be so straightforward.
Brighton at home, they're a different animal.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's why we love it.
So for all our listeners out there, armed with all this knowledge, what's the big question they should be thinking about as they watch this game?
I think the big question is, can Brighton overcome those injuries and use that home advantage to pull off an upset? Or will Arsenal just be too strong?
That is the question.
It is.
And I, for one, can't wait to find out the answer.
Me neither.
This is going to be a fantastic game.
I think so.
All right, well, that's it for our deep dive on Brighton versus Arsenal.
Thanks for listening.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive into the world of football.
See you, Eloy.